Welcome, everyone. We are here. Ryan Roberts, Director of Recruiting here at IrishBreakdown.com, joined by Sean Davis, my good friend, recruiting analyst here at IrishBreakdown.com, also the co-host of the Lucky Lefty podcast that you can find on the CFB Nation in association, with Irish Breakdown. We are here on a Monday morning, which means, Monday afternoon, I guess. It's a Notre Dame recruiting hour. So Notre Dame talk. And Sean, this is going to start taking on a new world, right? It's going to be a new world because not only are we talking about high school recruiting, the transfer portal opened today, which means that we got some players deciding to stay. We got a lot deciding to leave their school. And there's been a flooded of a million questions of, should Notre Dame look at that kid? Should they take him in? Should they reach out? And it's all very understandable questions. Mm-hmm. There's going to be some players that we are going to be very open to talking about. There's going to be some players that we just know straight up Notre Dame is not going to have interest in, and we'll just kind of keep it stepping in that direction. And then we also have some kids that are choosing to declare for the 2023 NFL draft. So I've been very, very busy this morning, as I know you have as well, sir, just getting off the Lucky Lefty show yourself and editing that thing up and doing all the things that you do as well. So it's been wild, Sean, but we're going to get into this, man. We're going to talk some weekend visits that happened, both in-home visits and an important visitor that came to Notre Dame's campus. So we'll talk about that. We're also going to talk about some transfer portal news that you should be very much aware of. Also going to hit on some Notre Dame recruits that are still in the playoffs and a couple that just won national championships, just won state championships this past weekend. So it's really exciting. Everything we got going on. We are, what is today? Today is the 5th. Is it the 5th today?
It's on the 5th. Yeah.
All right. So we are the 5th, which means we're 16 days away from the early signing day period as well. So we got a lot going on here at Irish Breakdown. So make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the podcast, hit that notification bell because there's going to be an extra show this week. I'll tell you that right off the bat. We'll get a little further into that, in a little bit here, but there's going to be news constantly that are going to be flooded the Irish Breakdown channel. So make sure to stay tuned there and also go to boards.irishbreakdown.com. We just had a flurry of intel pieces from Brian Driscoll, a ton, from myself, from Sean Davis this morning as well. We had so much intel on the board. $4.99 a month, $49.99 for the year. I think it is well worth it. Honestly, I think we may have given you your month's worth just off of the information this morning, if I'm being completely honest, right? So, Sean, I guess I want to start out, man, by just saying, how are you? Because this is a chaotic world, brother, and I am a little, not overwhelmed, that's not the right word, but there's a lot of movement happening right now, man. It's wild to kind of see everything.
Yo, I'm like a kid. This is like pre-Christmas for me, right? Because last week was tough. You knew the anticipation. You knew Friday recruiting will open back up with coaches being on the road, visiting guys. So you knew that would pop open. You get intel with that. And then you had CFP bowl game being announced for Notre Dame yesterday. And now the portal was starting to pop as the day before the deadline on the 5th. It starts to pop on the 5th. I was waiting for this all last week. We were waiting. Even after we did the show on Monday, it was like, okay, next Monday is going to be absolutely insane when we join together and do the show again. So I'm excited to talk about everything because I think what we're seeing is historic. Like we are seeing something that I don't know if it's going to be the same next year. Mm-hmm. I truly believe the powers that be are going to say, look, we have to do something. Almost
Sean,
kids in the portal right now.
Sean, it's wild, man. I saw a post this morning that was like we're 500 plus scholarship players in the portal already. Last year, for how chaotic that offseason was, it only got up to 1,900, man. So, I mean, we're expecting about 1,000 kids in the portal today. I saw someone, and it may be an overestimation, but I saw someone about a week ago say that they thought that the portal could realistically get up to 5,000 kids this offseason, which would just be insane right now, man. So it's wild because, I mean, there's a lot of things happening here, man. I mean, again, we're trying to get ready for signing day, and it's just like, well, yes, start covering some graduate transfers that may be interested in Notre Dame as well, which is just absolutely wild. And don't worry, folks. We're going to get to the transfer portal news. There was a player that decided to transfer this morning from Notre Dame. There's a player that went into the transfer portal technically this morning, but last night he made the announcement that we know Notre Dame's going to be in on. We'll get to all that, but we want to start, of course, Sean. Recruiting never stops, man. The dead period was lifted this past Friday, which meant that coaches could now make visits to recruits, commits mostly, right? So they're traveling and they're making their rounds to kind of the commits. And we had a couple great intel stuff from you as far as how a couple of those went. Marcus Freeman went to visit Charles Jagasaw. So I want to start there, man. We talked about Charles Jagasaw a ton on this podcast. He's a incredibly talented offensive tackle out of the state of Illinois.
Yeah.
And 6'6", 300 plus pounds, incredibly athletic. Not going to be an early enrollee. He is going to be a June enrollee because he's going to be wrestling in the winter and finishing up that season and doing all that type of stuff. So give us the latest, Sean, as far as how that visit went and maybe some tidbits that Charles parlayed to you.
Oh, man, the visit was great. As you saw the pictures as they went around social media yesterday, Marcus Freeman, he arrived about 5:15 on Friday afternoon, Friday evening, and came in, and it was just family and friends. And one of the faculty members from Alaman Catholic High School, Father Mirabelli, was there. And Father Mirabelli was pretty much the Pied Piper of the whole thing, as he told anecdotes and nice stories and gave jokes, and everyone just sat around and ate and laughed and shared in the conversation. So everything was really light and hearty. And then there was a moment where Coach Freeman got a chance to talk to Charles, and this is what is interesting. But this is something that has come via what we're seeing in the college football landscape. With the portal being 2.5 weeks before signing day, coaches are having to be very transparent with their recruits about what they're going to do in the transfer portal. And Charles Jagasaw said that he just had a conversation, and Marcus Freeman was very open about the transfer portal, guys that will be transferring out, people that might be transferring in, and what the roster and what the season is going to look like when Charles gets there. He was making him very well aware of the program and the team that he's going to walk into, letting him know that it won't resemble the guys that you possibly visited, met, and became friends with possibly on those game day visits. So it's just an interesting dynamic for these coaches now to have that conversation with recruits, because, there might be a recruit that sees that you're going and getting a veteran at his spot. Now he has to make the decision if he still wants to stay locked in to his commitment. So just very interesting. And he also talked about, with me, as much consternation and anxiety that we had as fans and media about the quarterback situation, Charles Jagasaw was very open that it was always a conversation amongst the 2023 commits. Always. Yeah. Like, what's going on? Who are we going to get? Who's going to be our guy? And November 19th changed everything.
Yeah.
Everything for the guys in that class. And for him to be a lineman, he's like, I got my guy. He said, that's my quarterback. I got my quarterback. And he's like, all 5 of us, all of the linemen in the class are super excited to have him and protect him. So this is the bond they talked about. And the other tidbit is last night was the Zoom call for all of the 23 commits, where Chad Bowden went over all the particulars about signing day and making sure that they knew what they needed to do and the required paperwork and how to properly get things sent in. And, if something's going wrong, make sure you hit me up and let me know. Everyone, from what I heard, is accounted for. And those that weren't on the call, they were excused. It wasn't like they just didn't show up. They spoke to the staff. They were excused. They had a previous engagement. And so I think only 2 people didn't make it based upon, having things already scheduled at that time. So this is only the first one. I believe they're going to have another Zoom call in like maybe 10 days or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. So that's just tidbits from my conversation with Charles Jagasaw. I did learn that the class clown, because there's always a class clown.
Okay, guess who it is? Can I guess who it is?
Yes, go right ahead.
Christian Gray?
Yes,
class clown?
Absolutely.
God.
That's the same thing Charles Jagasaw said. Of course, it's Christian Gray. He's like, Christian is always on something different, man. So when they got through with the serious things, Christian broke right in, and everybody that's followed, and it became just a kickback for the guys. And they were all cracking jokes and laughing. And that's who he is. So it's just great to hear that the camaraderie. And another tidbit, Chad Bowden wanted to make sure that there was no separation between the early enrollees and the June enrollees. And that's something he said to all of them. Like, do not allow yourselves as a class to be separated.
Yes.
Based upon these guys coming in. Stay connected. The guys that are coming in early, let these guys know what's going on and make them feel part of the process, even though they'll be getting here in June. So fantastic conversation and an all-around great visit Marcus Freeman had with Charles Jagasaw.
That's fantastic to hear, man. And I mean, again, Charles isn't one of the guys that you would be maybe nervous about just 16 days before signing day. But I mean, Sean, you talk about like some of the Notre Dame fans freak out, like, are they going to keep this guy? Are they going to keep that guy? Yeah. Can you imagine the recruiting staff right now? It's like, man, because some of these kids have been getting recruited for years. So now they're like, we're in the home stretch, man. Don't let anything mess up. Like, let's just get there, right? Let's pull the parking spot, and let's finish this out. So it's going to be awesome to see. And again, man, great insight, great in-depth analysis there, Sean, because this is very important. I mean, again, we're only a couple weeks away. This is the final call. We imagine most of the players are going to be signing on the dotted line on December 21st, just about everyone. There's going to be 15 early enrollees from what we know at the moment. So it's going to happen quick, man. And I love the fact that they're talking about unity between the class. I think that is essential because that can be tough. I mean, if you're one of the 15 that's going to be on campus early and it's like you have your schedule and you're trying to lift and do the schoolwork and maintain the team camaraderie and then also, trying to keep in touch with everyone, that's a lot, right? But I think that it's good to have those conversations now so that you don't lose sight of the fact that the whole 2023 class is a unit, right? Whether guys are coming in winter, or they're coming in the summer, that is essential for this program moving forward. We know how important the 2023 class is. So great note there, Sean. I just want to add a quick one on Christopher Tarrick, who actually so that was a home visit, obviously, to a Charles Jagasaw. The coaches are still on the road. We anticipate, and this is a little tidbit for you all for the future, but Notre Dame, I believe, is going in-home with a couple very talented defensive ends in the state of Arizona in the 2024 class today. So we'll make sure you keep touched to Irish Breakdown and boards.irishbreakdown.com for those types of updates as we move forward here. Sean, Christopher Tarrick, he had an official visit left. So he took his official visit this past weekend to Notre Dame. Spoke to him briefly. We'll have an update as I get just a little more information on the visit. But basically, guys, how this one is Christopher Tarrick committed to Notre Dame, a couple weeks ago at this point, and he had been to campus before. This was not a a foreign place for Christopher Tarrick, right? But being able to go there and see everything as a committed player, I think that it really just solidified everything, Sean. I really think it did. He talked about being able to talk to the coaches, talk to some of the players, see a practice Saturday morning, which was fantastic, and just being able to feel the energy as now a committed person compared to an uncommitted player. I think that really just solidified everything, and you hear that a lot from these recruits, especially the guys that don't take – because usually you take your officials before you commit to a school, but he saved a official, obviously, for after the visit, and I think that was a great moment for Tarrick and his family to be able to just enjoy this as a committed player. Now everything's just kind of off to the side, which is awesome. So love to see it, man. Love to see it. It's just great times at this point, right? And I was happy that Christopher had a great visit. Sean, did you have any more tidbits on Christian Gray? I think you said that you had a couple, or not really too much on there.
Christian Gray was just really about his time with Mike Mickens. That came to see him this weekend, and just a relationship that continues to grow with him and Mike Mickens and how excited he is. We did talk about his excitement coming in early, looking forward to that, and wanting to play early. And he talked about Benjamin Morrison and watching his growth and watching how he's been allowed to come in and play early and how it made him better. He sees himself on the same track. So talking about that. And then, of course, I said, yo, someone told me that you were the class clown. And he was like, who? And he started guessing guys like, man, who told you that? And he was like, nah. He's like, I am real talk, though. I am. he's like, I am that dude. So it was just a great conversation. And it was just really centered around, the relationship that continues to build. Mike Mickens, man, look. From the 22 class to the 23 class and watching. I can't wait to watch the senior film on Carson Hobbs. Like, because what I see in the junior film, it's like,
it's physical, man. They're like, get up in that wide receiver's face and don't let him move, right? Like, that's what he is.
Like, and whatever else he adds, in the 24 class, it is just a joy to talk to the young men and hear them talk about the relationship they have with Mike Mickens, who a lot of people had on the hot seat just over a year ago. And
right.
He's doing a tremendous job, not only getting the guys in, but getting them ready to play.
Yes.
And that's what you want to see out of a coach, not only being able to bring people in, but can you get them ready to take the field and be effective? And that's what Christian Gray sees for his future. He feels like coming in early is the best thing for him, and he wants to make an impact immediately. So we talked about the first practice at the pro day. It was funny because he was asking me what it was like, right? Because he was like, yeah, man, I can't wait. Like, man, go through the off-season weight training and everything. Can't wait for the first practice. And I was like, yeah, it's going to be the day after pro day. And he was like, yo, like, what was it like? And I'm like, yo, it's the most media I've seen all year in the practice. Like, because everybody's there for the pro day and they just stay over to watch the first day of practice. So national media, everyone's there. I was like, it's a vibe. And he was like, oh, man, you're getting me amped. So these guys are ready to go, man. And Charles Jagasaw is ready to go. Like,
yes,
he's almost regretting because the reason he stayed and didn't enroll early is wrestling. That's it. And he's like, man, talking to all the guys, talking about reporting in January. Man, sometimes I wish I was joining them, but I want to wrestle, so we'll see.
Hey, man, and he's a state champion, so he's gonna get his opportunity.
Title, right?
Yeah,
that's unfair that Drake got to defend both of his titles before January.
That's a great point, man. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. I know. But he's gonna be a welcome addition, just like Christian Gray is, man. I'll say this. After my interview with Shonda Gray about a month and a half ago, I guess at this point, Sean. And by the way, for everyone out there, just a sneak peek on the signing day on the 21st, we are going to be having a live show, which you should expect some past guests and maybe some new guests to come on that show as well. And speaking of Shonda Gray, and she was she's a tremendous lady, man. I can't speak enough about Shonda. Like, she's one of the best parents I've had a chance to speak to this recruiting process, man, because she's a single mother. She's handling it herself. She's got a daughter that goes to Ohio State, and we know Christian obviously was a little torn at one point between Ohio State and LSU and Notre Dame, obviously, right? And just tremendous support that Christian Gray has, which you shouldn't be surprised why he's just such a good kid, right? Like, you just shouldn't be surprised about that. So, again, Sean, great insights. We'll have more updates for you guys because as we're working through, we'll be putting out a lot of pieces leading up to signing day as far as just kind of last thoughts from some of these commits in the 2023 class about the rest of the process and signing the dotted line and what it's been like being committed to the University of Notre Dame and what that moment's going to be like for them and their family. It's going to be awesome stuff, man.
Absolutely.
And I will also say this. It's going to be exciting too because, Sean, as we move forward here, man, we're not done with this recruiting class either, which is wild. I mean, we were talking just a week ago, 2 weeks ago, that its number's 27, right? Well, now we know that number's 28 now, and it could go higher. This is going to be a massive, massive class for Notre Dame. But we'll get there because there's another name that we added to the board that you should keep a close eye on. And, a couple of the names like Brandon Hillman, for instance, that is making his commitment on December 7th. Notre Dame is obviously high on his board. We expect that, Notre Dame's in a good place right now and need to just close out in the next couple of days. And we feel good about where they are currently. So there's going to be a lot of movement here over the next couple of weeks, which is going to be exciting to cover. Speaking of excitement, Sean, we talked about, and this perfect transition into the transfer portal chaos that we are ensuing right now. A player that you heard instantly, and we put it on the message board, I believe last Sunday, I believe, was that there is a young man from Western Michigan. His name is Braden Fisk. He is a defensive lineman. If you pop on their film, he's number 55. If that's your style. Listed at 6'5", 300 pounds, all MAC performer. And Sean, he actually grew up in Michigan City, Indiana, which is he told me that his parents' home is only 30 minutes away from South Bend, Indiana. So they are extremely local. Had the opportunity to talk to him before the visit and get obviously the intel on, that Notre Dame was in talk because he's a grad transfer. So they didn't have to wait for the portal to open to start talking to him. He's, graduate transfers are free game. They're not undergrads, which is a little bit of a different animal. So Braden Fisk, on last Tuesday night, I believe it was. And I have a update on irishbreakdown.com if you want to go check out how the visit went. So last Tuesday night, Sean, he had Coach Washington and Coach Golden reach out to him via phone call, chopping it up with him, talking about him as a player, what he's looking for, all that great stuff. And then they immediately invite him, come to campus, right? Come to campus this weekend. And his parents live 30 minutes from campus. So sure, I'll come to campus. After leaving this visit, Sean, I'll put it like this. So kind of the weekend looked like this. Friday night, he went out to dinner with Coach Golden, me.
Right.
Later that night, after the dinner, he goes over to the football facilities to go onto the field and everything. And then Coach Washington met them over there. So we got to meet Golden and Washington that night, got to dinner with Coach Golden. And then I'm told that he did some other stuff it's almost like the player walk, but it's, a little bit different type of thing. Got to experience that type of thing and got to see the practice Saturday morning, got to meet the coaches, some players, all that great stuff. He talked eminently about the importance to see Coach Washington coach, to see Coach Freeman coach, and he lauded them for their energy and for how they run practices. He loved it. Interaction was a big thing for him. He talked about how Coach Washington would just get right in the drill and demonstrate it for the players to know exactly what they wanted the players to do in these drills. Sean, basically long story to get to a short story.
Yeah. He
had an exceptional trip. And let's be honest about this, folks. He grew up very aware of Notre Dame and had some allegiance to Notre Dame. But he, coming out of high school, only had 2 Division I offers. One was to Western Michigan, obviously, where he ended up, and Illinois State, which is an FCS school in the state of Illinois, obviously. So he wasn't heavy recruited. He was 6'3", 6'4", 240 pounds, coming out of high school. He's an under-recruited kid. Fast forward 5 years later, he's now a 6'4", 6'5", 300-pound defensive tackle that can also play defensive end, can play all over the place. And I will say it like this. He told me that he's not going to rush anything because he's a smart kid too, Sean, because he's like, hey, man, I only got one shot at this, right? Like I only have one season left. Right. And he had some draftable grades before the season from the NFL. So I actually thought he might enter the draft this year, but he decided to go back for a 6th year and to up the, level of competition and be able to do that. And since he entered the portal, he's being courted by SEC schools, Big Ten schools, ACC schools. They've all offered scholarships. Notre Dame also offered him a scholarship this weekend. So he's on the board. Now, this is going to be a few weeks in the making, guys. Beginning of January is when he wants to make a decision and finalize everything. but he's taking his time. The one good thing for Notre Dame is the only school visit that he has set up, the only school he's seen in person since he entered. He has some home visits that people are going to come to his home to visit him and lay out everything. So I think Notre Dame is in a very good spot at the moment. Again, I think it's great the familiarity that he has with the school, what it means to him. And I was told that, there was just moments where he was just kind of in awe over the weekend. So I think Notre Dame is firmly in this one. They'll have to outlast a couple other schools that are going to come at him with their different pitches. But I think, Sean, a few weeks from now, Notre Dame's going to be in the running for a Braden Fisk, graduate transfer out of Western Michigan, and he can potentially play nose in Notre Dame's system, potentially play 3-tech. He can do a lot of things for Notre Dame. So the quick update there on Braden Fisk, Sean, I think he would be a massive get. I don't know if you've seen him a ton at this point, but I think he would be a really good addition to this defensive line room.
Yeah, I'm one of those nerds that's watching MAC football on a Thursday night. I am. So I have seen Braden Fisk. I saw the matchup that they had against Northern Illinois. And like you said, he jumps off the film. He jumped up to 300 pounds, gained a lot of weight. So he's still kind of athletic, moves well. And the depth of competition is what's going to be immense because Notre Dame's going to be very young on the front, right? So you want some of that leadership, some of that competition. And if he does ultimately choose Notre Dame, I think it would be a great get. It's good to hear him speak glowingly about Al Washington in that way, because I think a lot of people are wondering about Al Washington. And, my pushback to losing Jacob Lacey has always been, well, Marcus Freeman said your reps come from practice. So if you're losing reps, that means somebody else in practice is doing their thing. That's the way I take it from what Marcus Freeman said. So all the other stuff that's been said about communication and Al Washington, he has a chance from this point forward in the portal, development of the young guys and the 24 class. This is it. You talking about Braden Fisk realizing this is it? Al Washington needs to realize transfer portal, development, 24 class. That's your window. Get it done.
That's really well said, Sean. And my phone is just going off right now, brother. I don't know if you just saw the message we got, but Jackson Smith and Jigba is opting out of the playoffs to enter the draft. And I know he's been hurt all year, but I've never heard of that before, man. I've never seen anybody opt out of the playoffs before. That is nutty.
Here's a tidbit, Ryan.
Yeah.
And you can jump into this because you would know because you're more connected than I am in the NFL. But I can tell you this tidbit. Will Anderson more than likely is not playing in the bowl game. Because I know for
and he shouldn't.
I know for a fact there's an NFL team where I reside that has been speaking backdoor, pretty much saying, you're good. As long as we're here at number 2, you don't have to worry. You have a home. So these are the type of conversations to go to what you just said. It's very well. Some teams could be telling Jackson Smith and Jigba, look, we're not even worried about the injury.
Right.
Dude, I understand this is the playoff.
Nah.
We got you. Don't even worry about it. This is the landscape we're in that we never thought a player of this caliber would choose because, right, if you're in the playoff, players would stay. That's what we heard. If they have a chance for a national championship, guys more than likely would stay. Well, we just saw our first guy say no to the playoff and a national championship to declare for the NFL draft. Things are changing and evolving.
Yeah.
It's a new day.
Well, Sean, Jackson Smith and Jigba is a fascinating player because coming into the year, everybody was just kind of penciling him into the first round.
Yeah.
I will tell you folks that there was a large kind of variance on Jackson Smith and Jigba coming into the year, Sean. There were some teams that had first-round grades on him. There were other teams that had third-round grades on him. So there was a little bit of variance as far as how they thought of Jackson Smith and Jigba. Yeah. And again, this screams agent decision that, like again, he's been injured all year basically for like the majority of the year. He got hurt against Notre Dame. I think he tried to come back at one point. I don't think it fully worked out as obviously getting back. And I heard that he was going to be available for the playoffs, but now he's obviously making the decision that, he doesn't want to sustain any re-injury, which I understand. I get that. Trust me. Like I don't. I definitely get it. It's just it's gonna be interesting. Sean, this is one part that we've never gotten to, right? Like we've seen plenty of kids opt out of bowl games. We've seen players opt out of full seasons, talking about like Jamar Chase, Rashawn Slater in the COVID year, right? Like we've seen that. Yeah. But we have yet to see a player that opted out of a playoff in college football, to my knowledge. I don't remember one. Yeah. So it's different, right? It's different. So
and interesting. Think about this. Also, this could be key. Who do you trust? Because this medical staff had the responsibility of getting him back ready from an injury that was originally thought to be 2 to 3 to 4 weeks. And he's never been able to get right. So as an agent now, I'm saying, I don't trust them. They haven't been able to get you right all season. But you know what? Right. I have guys. We can just start preparing for your pro day because I trust my medical guys more to get you ready for that pro day than them to get you ready for a game and your pro day. So now it's like taking him out of the care of that medical staff and giving them a medical staff that might be connected in the NFL circles.
Yes.
Because now medicals are coming up. Teams are going to be looking at medicals leading up to the combine and all of that stuff. So I totally understand why an agent would be pushing for him to sit out. I just never thought we would see a big time talent like that walk away from his squad in the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, I'm not judging him because I don't know what I don't even know if he was healthy enough to go in the playoffs. So I'm not judging him. I'm just saying this is the first that I've seen, of a guy opting out of the playoffs. Like it's just the first that I can remember. So it's going to be interesting, man, because we talked a little bit about a show yesterday, Sean. It's like I want to see, how Ohio State, after suffering the loss they did, how much energy they have, how much vigor they have coming into that football game. If they get back to it. So it's going to be interesting. We'll take a look though, but. I know we're getting flooded already with a bunch of transfer portal questions, Sean, because I just saw Justin Flo enter the portal, the once 5-star recruit at the University of Oregon linebacker, who I know has not been able to be healthy, and then I think he was a little bit ineffective this year. There's a lot, man. They are just it's wild right now. It is absolutely. I just keep saying it's wild because it is, guys. Like I can't even. I thought I knew it was going to be like this, but I still wasn't adequately prepared for it. And then we had Scott Satterfield hired this morning. I mean, the mailbag today, Sean, is going to be. It's going to be.
Hey, it's going to be a roller coaster with blinders on.
Isn't it, man? Isn't it though?
It's going to be thrilling, exhilarating, whatever you want to use, whatever word you want to use to describe it. I'm sure it's going to be more exciting for us than it is for you waiting for our answers. Look, I can't wait. I'm not even peeking at the questions because you usually set them to the side and I'll usually peek at them. Nope. I'm going in blindly this week, bro. I'm going in blindly.
Well, Sean, let's go in blindly into some. We're going to go into some transfer portal talk here for a second, and then we're going to circle back to some recruiting talk because we have a couple interesting topics that we want to hit on before the mailbag. So if you guys have mailbag questions, you can just keep popping them in the chat. We already have double digits, I think, starred here, and we haven't even gotten close to the mailbag yet. So, Sean, here's one piece of news. Have to cover it, right? This is not as much recruiting, but it is to a degree because it opens up a roster spot, right? And there's going to be some acquiring of talents. I don't know how I couldn't say whatever. Yeah. So I'm an idiot. Don't listen to me. I don't know how to speak at the moment. There's going to be acquiring of talent when spots open up. All right. Yeah. So we're expecting that there are going to be several players that are going to leave the roster for Notre Dame. And we think that a lot of those are not player-driven decisions, and we'll leave it at that because you need to sign up at boards.irishbreakdown.com to know exactly what I mean by that. But we had one of the first losses to the roster today, Sean.
Yeah.
And that is Jaden Bellamy, who was a freshman cornerback / safety. I know he was recruited originally as a safety and was playing some cornerback and didn't play this season, but he's out of Bergen Catholic in the state of New Jersey, which I am very familiar with. Yeah. He was in the same recruiting class, obviously, as Steve Angeli, who also came from Bergen Catholic, and they're also recruiting Kaj Sanders, who's a very talented safety in the 2024 class from Bergen Catholic as well. So, Sean, we had our first defection from the roster. Basically, what we're hearing about the Jaden Bellamy situation is just from the onset, it just didn't seem like a great fit. And this was more of him coming into a new situation, him being around new people, him, moving, to the Midwest from New Jersey. And it just didn't seem like a great fit. He was just a little reserved. Didn't seem like he really was comfortable in his own skin there. Right. Yeah. So this is the first onset though, Sean. We have the first player for Notre Dame to enter the transfer portal. We expect, even if you're on the message board, this, we expect a few defensive backs on the roster to kind of make that decision somewhat in the near future, right? So this was a decision that was not just purely for Jaden, right? Like Jaden obviously was not fully invested. He did not feel like he was a great fit at the program. But Notre Dame obviously, they had to have a heart-to-heart conversation in this situation, right? So Jaden Bellamy, though, is the first guy that is off the board for Notre Dame, and that opens up another scholarship offer.
I think we should point out, and I've had the opportunity to really get a background on this, doing a show with Malik every day, Malik Zaire, how difficult it is as a freshman at Notre Dame. Like, I went to the University of Illinois, which is nationally recognized as one of the best academic schools in the Big Ten. So I know what freshman year was like. I can't imagine ratcheting that up to a whole nother level like Notre Dame and trying to balance football as a freshman while acclimating myself to an entirely different culture, right? Because visiting during the spring and visiting on a game day and being engrossed in everything football and then showing up as a freshman and now experiencing the full culture of student life, because you're not separated like other schools. Like the Notre Dame players are part of the culture at Notre Dame. So it can be a shock to some people. And at times it can stunt the focus and the growth on the football field for some guys. And then some guys just, I don't want to say aren't good enough, but they just haven't performed up to the level that's going to get them on the field. And maybe they need to go somewhere else to reestablish themselves. And these are the tough conversations that I'm actually thankful that the coaching staff, being led by Marcus Freeman, are having with these young men. Like, let's have these conversations. It's uncomfortable, but it's needed.
Well, Sean, I'll say this, man. For a player that doesn't want to be there, obviously, right? And it just isn't and it's no shade at Jaden Bellamy, right? Like some people just don't fit well in certain places. Like there's a lot of states that I would live in and I would be absolutely miserable, right? A lot of cities. Doesn't mean that you're a lesser person. It just means that it's not a good fit for you. That's all it means, right? But to your point, if Jaden Bellamy is just kind of like, all right, well, I'm just going to keep, doing my thing. We'll see if it, gets a little better, and it doesn't get better. And neither side is honest with the other. That's when problems start, right? And it's not even anything like driven from angst or whatever. It's just like, that's how cancer starts though, right? Like that's how it starts. And it's not a fault of either side. It just wasn't a great fit. So some of these defections from the roster are going to be for the betterment of both sides, if we're being honest, right? Like this is no shade against Jaden Bellamy. Jaden Bellamy is probably going to go to another school. I'm sure he's going to play football. I'm sure he's going to be very successful. I'm sure. Just wasn't a great fit at Notre Dame. That's all we're coming down to, man. It's not a big deal. It's not. Again, I just want people to understand this. When just because there's a defection from the roster does not mean that either side is at fault. Sometimes things just don't fit. I mean, Sean, did you ever have a girlfriend that maybe wasn't a good fit, and then eventually it ended up pretty bad because you held on too long?
And then people around you told you that it wasn't a good fit early. Like, look, I don't know about this one. And I was, absolutely. Only to find out, I guess you guys are right. I guess I couldn't change things or affect things the way I thought I could. Absolutely. And it's just the nature of the beast, man. It's the nature of the beast. And unfortunately, some kids just, like I said, it's different visiting when everything is about football, Ryan. It's different. And then showing up and classes are in session. It's totally different. It's totally different because you see the campus is different. You're always around the guys, right? They're trying to get you to come to the school, so they're catering to you, right? Those trips are totally different than showing up as a student. And then they show up in June and continue to be catered to. And then all of a sudden in August, smack, everything changes. It's something else. And like you said, some people just find out early, like, nah, I don't want.
Just doesn't fit, man.
This isn't me, and that's fine.
And it might be better for Jaden too, because let's be honest, right?
Yeah.
Right now, Notre Dame is loaded in the secondary, man.
Yeah.
Like, especially because he's playing corner right now. I mean, you have Benjamin Morrison, you have Cam Hart coming back, Jaden Mickey's coming back. That 2021 class of Ryan Barnes and Philip Riley and Chance Tucker. Like, let's see what happens with that class. Then you have Christian Gray coming in. You have Micah Bell coming in, man. There's a chance for him to get buried on that depth chart as well. So, I mean, from the playing side perspective, Jaden Bellamy could probably go to a bunch of other schools and play football, which will be good for him as well, right? Because there's nothing worse than when you're not a fit and you're also not playing, right? Like, that is not good, man. That's not good. Because let's be honest about this, Sean. This isn't just a Notre Dame thing. There are plenty of players that maybe were not a good fits as a person into a program, but they were really good players, so they kept playing football, right? And that made it a good fit because I'm a good football player, right? Jada Bellamy is a good football player, but maybe he wasn't ever going to get like substantial playing time. And when that happens, when you're also not a great fit socially, that's when problems start. That's when problems really start. So I'm actually happy for Jaden, right? Like, I'm upset. I'm sad that it didn't work out for him at Notre Dame, but I'm happy that he has another chance to find a better situation for himself. Like, I think that's a good thing. So,
and that's the positive side of this craziness, right?
Yes.
Because I think if you come from Notre Dame, you're probably in good shape. Like, there are some players jumping to the portal. I don't know, man. They might be left hanging.
Yep.
More than likely, if you're a Notre Dame kid, you're going to find yourself a pretty good situation in the FBS. So unfortunately, I don't know how close. Well, more than likely, he's not close enough to the degree. To get it.
No, he's not going to be a guy that's going to get a degree from Notre Dame, unfortunately for himself. But I'll say this too, Sean. I don't think this is the case of Jaden Bellamy, but it's also, we have to talk about this, right? Marcus Freeman in his first year is laying down the foundation for his program. So if there are players that do not see that vision, might be a good mutual parting as well. You know what I mean? So Yep. I mean, someone just said, like, I'm happy for Lawrence Keys, right? Like, Lawrence Keys went down to Tulane. Just won an AAC championship.
I watched him this weekend. He had
a long punt and a touchdown catch, right? I mean, good for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that wasn't really, that was a little bit more of an interesting backstory to that, how that one ended up. But good. I mean, I'll be rooting for Jaden Bellamy wherever he goes. I love seeing guys like Lawrence Keys ball out at a different school. Like, it's awesome, man. It's really cool. So that's the one defection from the roster, one player that decided to enter the transfer portal. One player that we need to keep a close eye on, Sean. Familiar name to a lot of people. And I'm even getting Phillies talk right now, Sean, because Trey Turner just got signed to the Phillies. And I know it's wild,
bro. You should be happy.
My buddy's been texting me every single day. They're going to get him, or they're going to get Carlos Correa, or they're going to get Dansby Swanson. I'm like, I don't want Dansby Swanson. I've seen him too much in a Braves uniform. I don't need any Dansby Swanson in my life. But yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Trey Turner to the Phillies. You want to talk about it, Jacob? And I appreciate it, man. If you want to talk about it in the mailbag, I know Sean likes baseball, so like we could talk some Trey Turner if you want later on in the show. But Sean, an interesting player that is now in the transfer portal. It broke last night. The announcement happened and obviously became official this morning. Deshaun McCullough, who is an edge defensive end out of Indiana, was very productive as a freshman. I think there's some people that think he may make a freshman All-American list. And he is 6'5", 230 plus pounds, rangy, athletic, former top 100 recruits. Really talented football player, Sean. Like this is a Viper type, right? So he enters the portal. Why does this matter? Well, it matters because we know his father pretty well at this point, right?
I think so.
Yes. Dylan McCullough, who is the running back coach for Notre Dame, who is the father of Deshaun. His younger son, Dai McCullough, is also a 2024 recruit that I believe is going to 2023 recruit, excuse me, that's going to Cincinnati, I believe, if I remember that correctly. So, Sean, I mean, look, this is where we are with Deshaun McCullough. This is what we're being told, from sources. We believe that this is going to be a two-horse race for Deshaun McCullough. One is Notre Dame, for obvious reasons. They need it, Viper, father, talented player, already played his football in the state of Indiana. Yes. The other one is that the other team that's in this conversation is Ohio State, who Deshaun McCullough was committed to originally before flipping to Indiana, where his father coached before Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So 2 vantage points here, Sean. One, Ohio State has developed defensive ends at a very high level over the last few years. I mean, you go back to like the Joey Bosa's, Nick Bosa's, Chase Young's. They have a couple other good defensive ends this year. I know Zach Harrison's having a nice year for them. They got JT. They got Jack Sawyer. They always have defensive end talent. Yes.
Just breaking news.
Uh-oh.
Spencer Sanders.
In the transfer portal.
Yes.
I knew that one was going to happen. I couldn't put that out in the universe, but I knew that was happening as well. My buddy knew it was happening too, Sean. So every time a quarterback hits the transfer portal, he retweets it and says, "Go Pokes," because Oklahoma State's going to need a new quarterback. But getting back to Deshaun McCullough. So one side Notre Dame, one side Ohio State. Obviously he has relationships with the Ohio State staff because he was committed to them at one time, obviously. Notre Dame, he obviously has relationships with Notre Dame as well, for obvious reasons. We don't have to get into that. Another interesting thing, though, is that Al Washington was a big part of the recruitment for Deshaun McCullough because he was previously at Ohio State. Right. So there's some familiarity on both sides of things. I'm told, and we are told by a source, that it is not going to be he's easily going to go to Notre Dame because of the relationship with his father. Ohio State is 100% in this one. I think that right now this one can go either way, Notre Dame or Ohio State. We'll see kind of how it ends up. I know that Notre Dame is definitely going to make a push for Deshaun McCullough. There is no doubt. And we have Archer, our resident Ohio State fan, also saying that Ohio State is also going to push hard for Deshaun McCullough, which we already knew, but thank you, Archer, for that little tidbit there, right? So that's where we are right now, Sean. I will be very honest about this. Deshaun McCullough is incredibly talented, and for me, they need to make it happen. Notre Dame needs to get this one, Sean, because what's the big miss in the 2023 class right now? Is that you don't have a true Viper in the class, right?
Yep.
Without Keon Keeley. So a way to supplement that production potentially is to get another young, talented defensive end, and that's Deshaun McCullough for me.
Yeah, I agree. What do you have, about 5.5 this year, sacks?
Something like that. And he was only a part-time player for them. He didn't start. And at least a couple games I watched, he didn't start. But you could see the twitchiness. You could see the length on film easy.
Yeah. I love it. And if I had to, from a standpoint of opportunity, I think it's a lot more competition in front of him if he goes to Ohio State at that position. If Oklahoma is mentioned, I know they just lost at this point. 5 of their players are jumping to the portal today. So it's going to be some turnover there. To me, the Notre Dame situation is like a ready, set, go situation. I'll be honest. You know, and I'm not in his shoes, but if I'm looking at the situation, yeah, defensively, the talent that's going to be around and the talent that's there and what he could bring to the table, you know, but you got Ohio State as well. Yep. And to be honest, their defensive line coach is one of the most respected in the game. So, look, you have to go battle.
Yep.
You have to go battle for him. Go win the battle. You know,
that's it, man.
Go win the battle.
And Sean, we've talked about this, right? Ohio State is the Midwest power right now. Them in Michigan, right? From a recruiting perspective, Ohio State is the absolute Midwest power. And for Notre Dame to get to where they need to be, they need to start beating Ohio State for some of those dudes, right? Yeah. If Ohio State and Notre Dame both want a kid, Notre Dame has to win some of those battles. They do. So Deshaun McCullough is going to be a big opportunity for Notre Dame to, and they have it. I don't want to say an inside track because, again, I think that Ohio State has a legit chance to get Deshaun, but Notre Dame needs that type of player, man. Because now if you're talking about a Viper position that in 2023 has Joshua Burnham, Aiden Gabira, Deshaun McCullough, and Jordan Botelho, hey, you might not have Isaiah Foskey, but you're pretty good, man. You got a lot of talent there, right? I would honestly say that with that quartet, Sean, you have some of the twitchier edge rushers that Notre Dame has had in some time. I mean, that's a lot of twitch off the edge. That's a lot of explosiveness. So, yes, Deshaun McCullough, I think, is a definite must for Notre Dame to close on. Will they? We'll see over the next couple of weeks here, obviously, but an interesting player to watch and from a transfer portal perspective.
Yeah.
Circling back, we want to hit on 2 players real quick. I should be really quick, and then we'll get to the mailbag. Keep pumping in mailbag questions, folks. We're going to have some extra time today, it looks like, because we're doing well on time for once. You're welcome. All right, so Sean, first guy I want to talk about. Want to introduce everyone to a young man named Solomon Davis, who we put on the message board last night. Brian put on the message board. I should be more specific there. He is a defensive back out of Arizona, committed to the University of Arizona. I think he's actually out of the state of California, if I remember correctly, but he's committed to Arizona. Pretty long, athletic kid who we got kind of the go-ahead. Brian actually had this info maybe about a week or 2 ago, but, sources wanted us to hold off on kind of revealing the name on the message board, but it's on the message board now. So we're going to talk about the possibility here because Notre Dame's working on this one, right? They're working on this one. Committed to Arizona, but Notre Dame likes him. And especially now that Notre Dame, with a couple defections from the roster, I know I'm saying defections a lot today, folks. Please forgive me. That's my word of the day, I guess. With some losses to the roster, there could be some defensive back spots that open up. I mean, we just saw Jaden Bellamy. We should expect a couple more. This Solomon Davis kid, Sean, I don't know if you've seen the film on him, but I watched the film after Brian told me about a week and a half ago. I'm like, oh, because he plays wide receiver a ton for his school. Yeah. He plays defensive back. He also plays some nickel on top of playing outside corner. And my guy is twitchy. He's explosive. He can play, man. Yeah. You already have Christian Gray and Micah Bell in this class. If you now get this kid that maybe be more that nickel and then play some outside corner, you have a complete secondary class, man, because that's counting with Peyton Bowen, Ben Minich, Adon Schuler, and you bring in a 6-man class like that, woo, your defensive backs over the next couple of years are going to be special, sir.
Didn't we say last week that the more numbers we see on the board, that the coaching staff is telling us something? Because the entire program was under inspection the entire year. Like, it just didn't stop when the season started. Everything was under inspection. And when you see the number of kids growing in the class and, the foundation for the program is going to be recruiting for Marcus Freeman, he's telling you something. He's telling you something about what he sees on the roster and what needs to happen moving forward.
Yep.
And, which makes me believe if you're coming in the portal, they expect you to be an impact player.
No doubt.
They don't expect you to come in and blend in. They want you to come in and stand out. And we can talk competition all we want, but the expectation is in that competition, you rise to the top.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. And I mean, the great thing about a Solomon Davis, Sean, is that I think the upside's pretty nice with a guy like a Solomon Davis, but could he be better off maybe taking a redshirt year, taking a year to get stronger?
Yeah.
Excuse me, doing all those types of things.
Yeah.
I don't think there's going to be an immediacy. And again, we're not saying that this one's going to happen. We're just saying Notre Dame is doing their due diligence there. So keep an eye on Solomon Davis. Perfect segue from Keith Wiggin here, who said, where's Hillman fitting in? Obviously, it's talking about Brandon Hillman. Wanted to kind of circle back to this one, Sean, because we're going to talk a lot about this over the next couple of days. Because on Wednesday, Brandon Hillman is set to make his college decision, December 7th. We don't have an exact time on that yet. As soon as we do, we'll pump it on the message board. I'll put it on Twitter, all that good stuff. So there are a lot of schools that got into this one, including the University of Miami, amongst others. The kid out of Churchland High School in the state of Virginia. Keith, great question to start. Where does Brandon Hillman fit in? I just put a article out maybe like 3 or 4 days ago about everything that Brandon Hillman could do for a team. And me and Sean have talked about this a ton on this podcast, right? Yeah. Talked about him playing running back, maybe playing slot receiver. He's being recruited by some schools to play quarterback. Defensively, he could play rover. He could play safety. He maybe could play a will linebacker if his body develops properly. He could play anywhere, Keith, and everybody out there. This kid is a dynamic athlete, and this is kind of looked at as like a huge opportunity to bring in a true athlete into this class, a guy that maybe could be multiple things on the next level, but that he's talented enough where he's going to stick somewhere. And at worst, I'll say this, at worst, Brandon Hillman is going to be a premier special teamer for Brian Mason as a kick coverage player, as a pump block guy. Like, he's going to be able to do all those types of things, Sean. So again, just want to reiterate once again, Brandon Hillman, expect that we may have an extra show on Wednesday. It's very possible, but Notre Dame is high on Brandon Hillman. Brandon Hillman reciprocates that opinion of Notre Dame. We feel like Notre Dame's in a very good spot for Brandon Hillman. So, yes.
Guys like Brandon Hillman are used to being the best athlete on the field. And I think when he comes to Notre Dame, he'll be one of the best athletes in the class.
Yep.
So that trend will continue. And like you said, you hit the nail on the head. The floor is very impactful in special teams. What he can become, especially if he gets locked in early enough to one position and is given time to develop, I like what he can become. But I would like to see him in space. Like, whatever he does, give him some space. Let him roam. Let him be an athlete, because that's his strength.
I'm telling you this, Sean. I know that he can play safety and he can do all those things on the back end. I still want to see him at Rover, man. I do. Like this, I'm not going to say he's going to be Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, but there are some things about his game that do remind me of Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah. That's what he looks like to me, right? So we'll see how it ends up. We'll see where he ends up at Notre Dame if he ends up choosing them on Wednesday, but it's going to be interesting to see. So that's going to do it, though, for this portion of the show. This is the Notre Dame Recruiting Hour. Don't go anywhere, because we're going to go into the mailbag next, and we have a lot of great questions. We'll be able to answer your recruiting question, your transfer portal questions, any football questions. You can ask me about the Phillies signing Trey Turner apparently today. Like, we're open to anything here, because we're the master of all trades here, right, Sean? We're not just one note people. We can do anything here. So throw in some more questions into the chat. We'll be here for a little bit while, but this will conclude the Notre Dame Recruiting Hour. Before we conclude it, actually, hit that like button, subscribe, notification bell, rate the podcast. 5-star reviews on your favorite podcast platform are very much appreciated. Go sign up at boards.average.breakdown.com as well on the Notre Dame Recruiting Hour. All right, Sean, let's get into some recruiting questions, sir. I think we just had a super chat come in. We had a couple super chats, Sean. So we're about to laugh at Ryan. You ready to laugh at Ryan? Let's do it. All right. We had Matt's 2011 GT who said for Ryan's electric bill. Sean, I don't know if you heard this one. Thank you, Matt, first and foremost. Yesterday, we were doing the show to talk about the playoff picture and, Notre Dame's bowl and all that type of stuff. We're about 3.5 hours in, and I got caught like this because my power went out in my house, which was terrible, sir. It was terrible.
Wait, do that again. You got caught like what?
It was bad, man. It was really bad. I went back to the video and watched, and I was just stuck there. And Brian's talking to himself. He's like, Ryan, I don't know if I'm frozen or if you. Can someone say yes in the chat if I'm the one frozen? Which was hysterical. But yeah, I had to go over my in-laws last night for a little bit, because they had power. I didn't. It was just one of those nights, man. It was just, and the worst part is, Sean, is that they prolonged that as long as possible to say with bowl game, Notre Dame was finally in. And I didn't even get to talk about the bowl game on the show. It was awful, man. It was terrible. But Matt, I appreciate this super chat, man. And trust me, the electric bill is paid, sir. That was not in my control yesterday, all right? Was in my control. All right, we're going to go to this one, Sean. So Michael S., thank you for the super chat. Michael just said, why can Dracovic, of course, Phil Dracovic, transfer for the second time? Interesting one. So Boston College now transferring to Pitt. Of course, former Notre Dame transfer Phil Dracovic. It's because he's a grad transfer, Michael. He's allowed a second transfer if you're a graduate, right? So he's a graduate. He's able to do it. And, so he's going to be transferred for the second time. Appreciate your super chat there, though. Sean, let's go to – all right, here, Sean, here's a good one. Because we can talk about this one now. We talked about it a little the other day. Yeah. Hudson Card is a player. All right, so first from Gideon Rosa said, Hudson Card or Devin Leary, who do you prefer, Sean and Ryan? So we can talk about this one now fully, Sean, because we talked about Hudson Card because we knew he was going to enter the portal a few days ago. Devin Leary, the quarterback for NC State, former quarterback for NC State, also just said that he is entering the transfer portal today. So let's start the conversation, Sean. I'm going to kick it to you first. If you had the choice between Hudson Card and Devin Leary, where would you go on this one?
I would go towards Card, and here are my reasons, right? The first reason would be health. If I already have a quarterback in Tyler Buckner that I have to worry about his health, I don't want another quarterback that I have to worry about whether or not he can stay healthy. The second one is coming into the season, everyone had this first-round buzz around Devin Leary, and I was critical because I knew coming into the season he wouldn't have that left tackle that was taken high in the NFL draft, Aquanu, having his back once again, and I knew the offensive line would be young, and that could be a problem. And I think we saw that with some of his inefficiency early in the season before his injury. He just wasn't the same quarterback. He lost both of his dominating running backs as well. I think he lost a couple of transfers. He lost his big target on the outside as well. So he didn't have the same skill position players coming into the season as well. So I expected his production not to be up to snuff. And, I think coming into Notre Dame, he would play better. He would probably look better at Notre Dame. But I just don't want to have to deal with the injury concerns. I just don't. Especially with Tyler Buckner being part of the competition. I don't even want that concern. Hudson Card, to me, I think for what he was dealt as a backup to Quinn Ewers, the toughness he showed against Alabama, and then the very next game, the toughness he showed making plays outside the pocket with his ankle still bothering him. I thought he played very well against Texas Tech, and I blame that game on the defense, even though he turned the ball over in the second half. So I knew he was playing behind a porous offensive line. Quinn Ewers was playing behind a porous offensive line, even though he did have, he had Xavier Worthy, he had Bijan Robinson. Like, you can't get around that. It wasn't like he didn't have talent to play with offensively, but when you don't have an offensive line in front of you, that really impacts your ability to play. So for me, it would be Hudson Card for me. Devin Leary probably could come in and play very well. I don't want any injury concerns. And I know injury can happen to anybody.
Sure.
Me personally, I just don't want the concerns coming from a guy I'm going out to bring in.
Yeah, I totally get that. And we're actually on the same exact page here, Sean, because the people have posed this one to me already. Because there's going to be other names that are going to be out there, right? Like there's a possibility Michael Pratt from Tulane enters the portal at some point.
That's very interesting. That
He
name right
is
there.
he is very interesting. But
Yeah.
I would say this, just in this conversation, Hudson Card is extremely interesting to me because I actually think he played really well in Quinn Ewers' absence. I actually thought he was better than Quinn Ewers in the absence that he had from a just consistency level. Drew Leary, Devin Leary is a very good college quarterback. There's no doubt. If you could guarantee me that for 2023 he is fully healthy, then I'm on board, 100%. But to your point, Sean, you can't guarantee me that because he's had multiple injuries now. He's missed a substantial amount of time. I mean, there's been upper body and lower body injuries at this point now for him with the recent pec that he had on his throwing side. So I just think there's too much variance for that for me, right? Like there's too much question marks for me, especially when the reason that you're where you are right now to need a transfer quarterback is because Tyler Buckner can't stay healthy at this point, right? Like if Tyler Buckner doesn't get healthy, it doesn't get hurt, and he plays well this season, you're probably rolling into next year like Kenny Minchie coming in, Steve Angeli, like we're good. We don't need to do all this, but you need some sort of consistency in that room. And I'm not bringing Hudson Card in to be like, Hudson, you are the starter from day one. I'm bringing him in and saying you have to beat out that number 12 over there who's back healthy and hopefully playing good football, right? And hopefully he can stay healthy. So it's a competition. It's just your point, Sean. I'm not two wrongs don't equal right? And, a injured quarterback with another injured quarterback is not, you're not going to fix any of the problems there. So I agree. And then, Sean, I think you hit on this obviously a little bit, but John Banco just said, I've never seen Card play. What does he bring to the table? I'll throw out a couple, Sean, and then you add in anything that you want to add to it, right? So he's 6'2", 200-plus pounds, from the state of Texas, former high-caliber recruit, top 100 kid. He's got that dual threat ability, John. He was I think verified in the 4.7s coming out of high school, 35-plus inch vertical. So he's an explosive kid. Dual threat, can move with the football as a runner, can be an extender, gets to his top speed very well. And I think he's just got a natural throwing motion, man. I think he delivers pretty easy velocity. Just the inconsistencies with him right now is that you just haven't seen a ton, right? Like there's limited film on him. You're kind of banking on upside and potential, which I think he has a good amount of, right? So that's kind of what I see though, Sean. 6'2", dual threat kid, has a good arm. Velocity is plus in that department. He's been relatively accurate so far in his career. It's just about you haven't seen enough of him right now, right? Like it's just a limited sample size.
His running ability is what stood out to me. Toughness is what stood out to me.
He is a tough kid.
Tough kid. Man. Durable, right? Can play through injury. You saw it this year. Not scared of the moment. Like if you go watch him play against Alabama, he wasn't out there like scared. Mm-hmm. He was competing. Like he was ready for that stage. He needs more time. And I think the reps he got will make him an even better quarterback. Lastly, with the team you have and the running game you have, he can push the ball down the field.
Yes, he can.
That's what you need.
If you flip on the West Virginia game, Sean, he threw a dot on it was like a deep over route that was deep downfield, and he got smoked like right in the mouth. And I was like, oh, toughness, some arm strength. Yeah, man. There's a lot of interesting things. So Jason just asked an interesting question, Sean, that I wanted to hit on real quick. He said, did he get beat out by Ewers, or was Ewers going to be the starter regardless? Jason, from everything I've heard, and again, I don't talk to the coaches, right, making that final decision, but everyone that I talked to that was kind of just at the practices covering it and based upon everything they were hearing from their sources was that Hudson Card outplayed Quinn Ewers in the preseason. He did. I think that there's obvious reasons that they started Quinn Ewers, and Quinn Ewers is talented, man. If he hits the ceiling, he's going to be very good for Texas. There's no doubt. But I think that may have been a situation where things were promised. And we'll leave it at that. So, but great question. All right, let's go to now, Sean. A great question, by the way, guys. So far, we love the questions, and we could talk transfer portal all day because we're in that variety now. Sean, I want to throw this one to you because I'm going to lose my mind if I answer it first. I think from Shamrocker. Shamrocker, thank you for the question. What does everyone think of Graham Mertz from Wisconsin? Sean, your thoughts?
Dude, he's not Jack Cohn. That's it. That's my thought. Like, just because he went to Wisconsin and we went there once, we don't go back to that well again. No.
Sean, you know what's funny is I had a take that I got smashed on Twitter a few years ago, man. I remember when Jack Cohn got hurt and Graham Mertz had that great first game. And then there was, remember, it was that Wisconsin was dealing with COVID, right? So they didn't play for a few weeks. And I said, the minute that Jack Cohn gets back, he should be the starting quarterback. Said it because I just was not a Graham Mertz guy. Wasn't. Yeah. And I got smashed for saying that. Oh, Mertz is the future, all this stuff. I'm like, guys, played one football game, man. I know he played well. And I know it hurts your soul too, Sean, because I think that was against Illinois, wasn't it?
Horrible Illinois team.
Yes.
Horrible.
Yes.
That team
and he torched them. And he torched them. He did. Yeah. But then you see when everything comes back, Jack Cohn transfers. Graham Mertz is the guy for the next 2 years. It's not very good, man. Just not very good.
There was something about quarterbacks that really hit the scene in that COVID year.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost like a mirage. Like Graham Mertz, DJ. Like you thought you had stars coming. And then all of a sudden, when real football and real preparation came back, you got to see what it was really like with those kids. So I wouldn't even want him at Illinois. That's how bad he is.
Really? You think so?
No.
What do you even think of Illinois?
No.
Sean, let's play quarterback roulette for Illinois. Would you take DJ Uiagalelei at Illinois?
Yeah.
You would?
In the Big Ten West, absolutely.
Okay. Would you take, well, you can't have Cade McNamara anymore, but you would have taken Cade McNamara, right?
Yeah.
At Illinois?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I thought he was a great fit for an Iowa, Illinois, absolutely.
Yeah. That's one thing. People were crapping. I don't know if I could say that on the show, but I just did. They were crapping on the Cade McNamara decision to go to Iowa. I'm like, it's all right. I mean, it's not too bad,
let's
man.
be honest. Anytime Kirk Ferentz has had average to above average quarterback play, Iowa has been dangerous in the Big Ten.
They have. This is what I know about Cade McNamara next year at Iowa, Sean. He's going to throw a small amount of interceptions. That's what he does. He's going to complete a highly percentage of passes, and he's not going to kill you. Do I think he's a playmaker? Nah. Do I think he can carry a team? Nah. But for an Iowa team that's defense is still fantastic, couldn't he do enough to just kind of get you by? I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Sean, we got a question just for you, sir.
What's that?
John A1 asked, would you take Drew Pine at Illinois, Sean?
I don't think Drew Pine would take Illinois. I would take Drew Pine at Illinois, but I don't think Drew Pine would take Illinois. I think their sights are set a little bit higher than Illinois. And Brian, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know if you saw this. Drew Pine, the news broke, Friday morning?
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So
we were literally on a show, Sean. It was actually it was at like 2:00, and it was like, all right, we're not doing this show anymore. We're just talking about Drew Pine now. Yep.
Yeah. So I understand him making the 11:00 a.m. Sports Center. I understand him making the 12 noon Sports Center. Just because he's Notre Dame's quarterback, right? But when it's post Pac-12 championship game on a Friday night, and they still throw in that Drew Pine is transferring from Notre Dame when he's probably maybe, I don't know if he's even top 10 in the quarterbacks that are in the portal. That's questionable. But somehow, some way, he made it onto Sports Center in prime time. He's from Connecticut. His family has connections. I think it was great marketing. I think it was great marketing. I wasn't even mad at it. I would have done the same thing for my son. The exact same thing. And that's what makes me think he has his sights set higher than Illinois. So I would absolutely take Drew Pine to Illinois, but I don't think he wants to be there. I don't think he wants to be in Illinois.
That's interesting, man. I honestly haven't given it much thought to where I think Drew's going to land because I have no idea. Yeah. But he does seem like a Big Ten kind of kid, right? Like, couldn't you see him at Illinois, Iowa, Northwestern, like a school like that? Like, I could see that. I can see it 100%. But we'll see. We'll see how he has his eyes set, I guess. But I mean, I hope for the best for him, obviously, because he's a good kid. So,
dude, people talking about I've been in the rooms for a production for a show in Sports Center. There's no way Drew Pine should have made the cutting room floor for 10 o'clock Sports Center. He's not big enough. He's not to make that. There's a reason he made that. And it wasn't because of Notre Dame. There's a reason he made that. Period. I'm telling you. So that's why I tip my cap to the people around him and say, you know what? Job well done. And that's why I say I don't think he would set his sights on a rebuilding team like Illinois that really, he's coming from Notre Dame. Like he wants to go to a team that is at least outside chance to make it to the playoff. That's what he's leaving. He's leaving a situation with an outside chance or a good chance to make a playoff. That's not Illinois. So, no, I think his sights are set a little bit higher. Now, it's going to be interesting to see how teams view him, right? Because his resume is pretty good. As a starter, 8-2 on the season, some pretty good games.
On paper, it's good.
Heck yeah. Like he goes into that meeting, somebody's going to like him based upon the resume. Now, can he sell himself on the visits to those schools? We'll see. Should be interesting though.
Yep. We have so many great questions here today, Sean. We had a super chat that came in. That was from Maltavius. It said, "Thank you for the super chat."
Wait a minute. Don't tell me he froze again.
I guess, but sorry, but my internet just went wonky there for a second. Can you hear me, Sean?
I was like, did he just freeze again?
You can hear me though, right? I'm not losing my mind. Okay.
No.
Okay. From Maltavius, with how highly touted Ewers was coming out of high school, my internet just went wild there for a second. What makes people think Card was better, but did not good enough to get the quarterback one position? Maltavius, my comment was not about who I think is better, right? I think that, from a talent perspective, Quinn Ewers is a much more talented passer than Hudson Card, in my opinion. Quinn Ewers is an NFL-level arm. There's no doubt. Like, he has a silly amount of arm talents. I will say Hudson Card's a better athlete, in my opinion, than Quinn Ewers. But we were merely commenting on the fact that from everything we were hearing, definitely from everything I was hearing, that Hudson Card was the better player in the preseason, right? And that's all we base it off, man. Talent aside, Hudson Card was playing better football from all accounts. So just all I was referring to. I don't, from a talent perspective, I think that you could say Hudson Card is a better athlete than Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers is a better talent as a thrower, but Hudson Card might be also more consistent as a passer right now. So there's a lot of give and take to that conversation. But from everything we heard, Sean,
I'll back you up, bro.
Yeah.
Go watch Texas football. Hudson Card played with the offense was better with Hudson Card. Just go watch the games.
Don't agree. I don't agree. And I love Sean, I love this chat though. And sorry about Tavius. I just got sidetracked a little bit because everyone's saying that Vince is the one that's sabotaging my electric. Did you see this post? Sean? Did you see this post on the message board? So yesterday on the show, people asked on the show yesterday who would win in a steel cage match or something like that, me or Vince. And we both had to make the case for why we would win. And someone put literally a poll on the message board about who would win in a fight, me or Vince, which was fantastic.
Now, see,
man.
steel cage, if Vince kept you
Yes.
on the mat, he might be able to do damage, especially if he runs you into the fence a couple of times, right? But if you get into
Yes.
your high flying act off the turnbuckles, I think you can take advantage of him, Ryan.
I'm also a little bigger than Vince, man. I got a little weight on Vince, you know. I'm a little bigger.
Now, Vince, if you're talking about you freezing, Vince's, performance with Sean Stiers and Jesse on Friday night, live from his hotel room. That was a tough one for a while too. So both of you guys, I see now. I understand the message board topic that was going back and forth with you guys.
Yeah, man. Hey, and people think that Vince is super scrappy, and he very well might be. But you don't know about me, sir. I'm from Jersey.
Yeah,
I'm from New Jersey.
When you start talking about steel cage matches, I get serious. I break it down.
Oh, man. Sean, I'm from New Jersey, man. They're not giving me enough credit. Because Sean, the reason is because I was what were we talking about? So we were talking about who has a higher NFL fandom or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And then we're talking, about, back and forth and who would win, all that type of stuff. And it was just a joke or whatever. But the reason that I got so angsty in the board, though, Sean, is that this poll, I was losing like 77 to 23%. I only had 23% of the vote that I would win in the steel cage match. It wasn't even 50-50, man. Can I get a little bit more credit than this?
Would you play fair, though? See, which guy are you? Would you be the heel?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll put it like this. I am an incredibly competitive person.
Okay.
I will have no problem cheating a little bit in a board game to win. I have no problem doing that, man. Zero issue doing that. So you can take that for what they want, but yeah. I don't like losing, man. I don't like losing, but we'll spare Vince this time. He's got 5 kids, like someone said in the chat. So they can't be fatherless moving forward. Thank you again, though, Maltavius, for the super chat. I don't know how we got to that point of this, but yeah, it was a good talk. So we're going to Tommy Guns now. I said, Ryan, man, if you're currently getting spanked in the poll between you and Vince, need to give people a reason to vote for you like I did. Tommy, that's what I'm saying, man. I'm trying to make the case. I'm from Jersey. I'm younger. I didn't say that. I'm younger. I'm bigger. I mean, I got a lot going for me, man. But, keep moving. Sean, we got from Jared Mitchell. Jared Michael. I can't read. My apologies, Jared. Do you wait to see how Buckner does in the bowl game before going after a transfer? Your answer to that.
No, you can't wait. No. That's not how this works. You don't watch all the quarterbacks come off the board. You can look at practice in bowl preparation and evaluate Tyler. Tyler was up with Tommy Rees for a reason. They wanted to continue his development so he could see things and learn. If Tyler Buckner locks in, Tyler Buckner is going to be okay. I'm not saying he's going to be a superstar. I'm not saying he's about to be a Heisman winner. If he locks in and puts in the work, Tyler Buckner has the talent to be a good quarterback. He does. All right.
You can't wait, man. You can't wait.
These once the first domino falls,
it's going to fall quick.
It's going to fall quick.
And then you can't wait. And then Jared, you're going to get yourself in a position where you get the bottom of the barrel, right?
Yeah.
And it's Notre Dame, man. We don't push for the bottom of the barrel. You go get the best you can get, right? I agree completely.
Heck no. Wait, man.
Sean,
I'm calling Spencer Sanders right now. I'm calling guys as soon as they hit. And I don't know what direction they want to go in, Brian. So I'm just throwing names out. I'm not saying I get that information, but
man, I can't. Sean, we're having a great conversation, man, but I can't get past some of these comments, man. Be Hard 1074 said Vince is already in your head. You done lost. I don't agree. I just don't agree. Don't agree, man. We had Domer Wap said
I'm officially throwing my hat in the ring to be your
Oh,
man.
Vince. Oh, I thought you were going to join the steel cage match.
I'm going to be your Bobby Heenan. I got you, bro. I'm throwing all the illegal objects in the ring and distracting the referee. I got you.
Oh, that's too funny. We had Dober Wop who said, Ryan, are you the uncle that takes holiday family football a little too seriously and runs over your small teenage nieces to make a touchdown? Nah, man, I don't run them over, Domer, but it's mostly just because I don't play tackle anymore because my body doesn't react. But if a ball's in the air and it's a one-on-one with a niece, and I get a little push in the back, then stuff happens, man. I'm not trying to hurt anybody though, but just if you're not cheating, you're not trying. You know what I'm saying? So we'll keep there. All right, let's go to next one. To Salty Virginia Peanuts, who said, how long is Chad Bowden's day right now, Sean? Can you imagine? Could you imagine right now, man?
Between entertaining and welcoming in visitors, transfer portal, setting up visits, communication with Marcus Freeman, coaches, and a recruiting class, he's earning his money. I'll just leave it at that. Like whatever he's being paid, he's earning it right now. He's earning it right now. So based upon the outcome, he might deserve a raise. I'm all for it. I'll put it out there first. If this class stays intact, they get a good big-time quarterback and get defensive help in the portal, give that man Chad Bowden a raise.
Yes. Give him a raise. Make him a statue. He can have whatever he wants after this thing that he's doing right now, man. No doubt. Chad's done an incredible job. Sean, are you down for this? Craig D said Ryan and Sean versus Vince and Brian tag team match.
Oh, we will win that. Now,
we probably would, but I would never do this though because
he'll jump in shortly. We will win that.
And then Brian will fire us afterwards. So I need my job and for my family. So no, Craig, it's a no for me, but it's a good thought.
Yeah.
Man. Oh man, we're off the rails today, and I absolutely love it. I absolutely love Sean get the table. So what is happening?
That's right.
Oh gosh, this is too funny, man. All right, let's go to.
I'm doing the kabuki green mist. I'm doing everything.
Yeah.
Any and everything for an advantage.
Oh man, this is too funny. I love this stuff. All right, we're gonna go to Ant_VR. Is it that he's opting out or he's injured and is just saying he's going to start prepping for the draft? This was about the Jackson Smith and Jigba stuff that we were talking earlier. Yeah. So Ant, to my knowledge, he is opting out of the bowl game and he's going to prepare for the NFL draft. He's declaring for the NFL draft. So that's my understanding. If I misread it, apologize. Someone correct me in the chat, but I believe that is my understanding of it right now. Oh no, what are they saying in the chat right now?
Anthony Solomon is the best. He's the best.
What do you say? Sean. Wait, let me bring it up. Sean with the brass knuckles.
Old school, baby. Yes.
Oh, it's too funny, man.
Ole Anderson style of the Four Horsemen. Absolutely.
That's fantastic. We had Milton Fan said, gave us a super chat. Thank you, Milton Fan. Appreciate you. Vince can compete with Jordan. Can you, Ryan? I mean, by the definition, Milton Fan, I guess I could compete with Jordan, but I would lose epically at the same time, right? So I guess that's what Vince was trying to say, Sean, was that he could compete with him, as in he would be in the arena, but he would not win, obviously. So, oh, man. Too funny. Thank you, though, Milton Fan. Appreciate you, sir. Appreciate you.
I don't want to do that, Clay. Clay, I wouldn't want to do that to the Michigan podcast guys.
Oh, no.
All right.
Oh, yeah, let's not do that, man.
That might be the quickest win in history.
Oh, gosh.
Can you imagine if we could put these matchups? What was that show MTV used to have? Remember? They used to have the wrestling matchups with, like, celebrities. It was called Celebrity, what was it called?
Celebrity Cage Match?
Yes.
Death Match?
Yes.
Death match?
With Mills Lane as the ref. Yes, that was a great show. We should do it that way. We should have animators do it that way. That's dope.
So funny. That's hysterical, man. Yeah. Someone actually asked this before, Sean. I think they took like a couple other Notre Dame outlets and like who would win in like a flag football game or something like that. It's so funny.
Yeah.
Yes. Celebrity Death Match, John just said. That's what I thought it was.
Yeah. That show was fantastic.
That was funny. Yeah. All right, so let's go to Antoine Porcher Rodeau. Ryan, Oklahoma State quarterback Spencer Sanders just entered the portal. What are your thoughts on him? Sean, I know you already threw his name out, so I'll give my thoughts on him too, but I kind of want to kick it off to you as far as what are your opinion on Spencer Sanders? I feel like we never talked about him together.
Well, if you bring Spencer Sanders in, is it really a competition? You know what I mean? I think Spencer Sanders, once again, it's not even about Notre Dame. It's about what the young man is looking for. I think Spencer Sanders will be coming in expecting to be the leader, the quarterback. And I don't know if that fits with what Notre Dame wants to do.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So unless they just see something in bowl preparation that makes them feel like, you know what, we got to go get a dude.
Right.
Even if it's for 1 year, we got to go get a dude, you know.
Yeah.
And this is where Kenny Minchey could afford them to do that. Because if they go get a dude and Minchey red shirts and they get him ready for the following year, then if you happen to lose in Angelia Buckner, it doesn't really hurt you because Carr's coming in next year.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can go add depth in the portal if you want to do that in 23. So it's a lot. I mean, they can be bold and go get a dude, or they can go get someone that they feel like that can come in and compete. Right. And raise the level of competition. They can pretty much do whatever they want, but they got to get it right, Ryan. They have to get it right.
They definitely have to get it right. There's no doubt about it. You have to, man. You have to get it right. Whether it ends up being a really good backup or it ends up being the starter, you have to get it right. You cannot get a dud in the portal, which is why I would personally pass on Spencer Sanders for one big reason, Sean. This is the biggest reason for me. I love Spencer Sanders' talents. That kid has a rocket for an arm. He's got a whip. Man. And he's a really good athlete. And early in the year, he was playing some good football, man. But then it became the same Spencer Sanders that I've seen over the last 4 years, is that you just can't depend on him to be consistent, man. You can't depend on it. He's just a very volatile quarterback. Yes. Down the stretch.
That's what it is. Now, I will say their run game struggled all year. It wasn't the same.
It did.
It wasn't the same, and they didn't have the same defense. So he was forced to have to score as opposed to the Oklahoma State last year where they played from ahead a lot because of that defense. So I don't, when you bring somebody into Notre Dame, what are they walking into? Are they walking into a veteran defense that you really feel like is going to lock teams down? Or are you bringing somebody in that might have to play from behind a little bit early on in the season as the defense gets – it's a lot to really kind of play out in the mind when you really think about what they want to go get. Like early on, do they need a guy that they can, depend on and know he can go out here and put up points while the young defense kind of gets their feet under him? It's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, Sean, it's just like one of those, right? Like if you told me I was getting the good Spencer Sanders every single week, I'd be like, heck yeah, buddy. That's a talented kid. But
if you told me I was getting the healthy Devin Leary, I would say,
Sure. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's very fair. We had somebody else ask up here. I know I saw it coming in. So Patrick Tolan just asked, redshirting Minchey puts Carr and Minchey in the same class, right? So Patrick, what would happen? So CJ Carr's 2024, Kenny Minchey's 2023. It would make them both technically freshman eligibility wise in 2024. But the thing is that you could also redshirt CJ Carr, right? So he technically has four years of playing time in a 5-year window if he uses his red shirt. In that situation, Minchey would have 4 years to play 4 years. Yeah. So technically, yes, but it also depends on what your plan is with CJ Carr then. I mean, if Kenny Minchey's your guy in 2024, let's say, and CJ is not going to be the starter, maybe you redshirt him, and then that would move that eligibility to the next year type of thing. So just a quick question on that.
Well, wouldn't you
Very
think
good question.
Spencer Sanders would want to, once again, going to what the kid wants?
Mm-hmm.
It's a kid that's, is in a Big 12 championship game on the verge of CFP. So the programs he's looking for would be on that level. So I wouldn't be shocked if he went to an Auburn, per se, or if he went to, heck, if Bama strikes out on Drake May, which I doubt they do, could he go? Heck, I don't know who Kirby has, but could he go to Georgia?
Doesn't really fit Georgia, but I wouldn't an interesting one, Sean. Here's an interesting one for you. I have no idea if this is even a conversation point. Mm-hmm. If Drake May does move North Carolina, though, he would be pretty fun in Phil Longo's air raid. He would. So it's going to be pretty fun, man.
Yeah. I can see that.
Yeah. He's definitely like an air raid quarterback, though. Don't you agree? Like outside vertical, run the football type of guy. Like that's who he is, in my opinion. So
do you think he would interest no, the Travis kid has another year at Florida State, doesn't
he? He does if he wants it. Yeah. He does if he wants it. Mm-hmm. Man, there's actually some draft conversations with Jordan Travis, so I guess you never know. But
tough kid.
Point,
he's a tough kid.
He's a tough kid. Really good athlete, tough kid, no doubt. I don't think he's an NFL quarterback, but we'll see. Charlie Weiss's last belt loop with the super chat. Thank you, sir. Just said, Ryan, you're a South Jersey guy. You're rubbing shoulders with the old ladies at ShopRite. Do you expect Notre Dame to get a transfer quarterback before Christmas? Thanks, Charlie. You're not. Look, man. New Jersey gets a bad rap, Sean. We know that there's a North Jersey, there's a South Jersey. South Jersey, I'll take the Philadelphia area over New York area any day of the week. All right? Just leave it like that, Charlie. Yes. Do we think it will be happening before Christmas? Yes. I think that a transfer destination will be made before Christmas. I do. Mm-hmm. I do. Because that gives us several weeks from now for that to be figured out. So, yes, I think that you're going to start seeing a lot of guys coming off the board relatively quickly. Because, Charlie, we talk about this all the time, right? Most guys that enter the portal have an idea of where they want to go before they enter the portal, right? So, yeah, I think that decision happens before Christmas. I do. Could it be longer? I guess it's possible, but I think it's before Christmas personally.
And I will vouch for Ryan in the South Jersey, the Philly area, because I have family in Newcastle, Delaware. That's not too far from the Philly area. And they're tough. So I vouch for the people in that area.
Yep. Tell him, Sean. Tell him, man. Tell
him. It's real.
It is real. It is, man. It is. We had another super chat from 82 Slice. Thank you for your super chat, sir. Looks like that's the guy in the picture. Why haven't we seen Tommy Rees on any of these recruiting visits lately? We've seen just about all the other coaches, but no sign of Rees. Anything up? Nope. Don't think anything's up. I think that Tommy will be making his rounds just like every other coach. The problem 82 Slice is that we've talked about this before. There's a limitation on how many coaches can be on the road at once, right? So I think as a coach comes back, Tommy might be going out to certain destinations. But yes, I do expect Tommy to be on the road here at some points.
Priority, right? It's about priority. Tommy's priority right now is Steve Angeli and Tyler Buck.
Absolutely.
That's his highest priority. So,
and part of this too, Sean, is like, I mentioned already that Al Washington might be out to see a couple West Coast defensive ends for 2024, right?
Yeah.
Tommy's already got 2023 locked up, 2024 locked up. I mean, he's now working on 2025 quarterbacks, right? So, yeah, offensive coordinators have a role in all the offensive recruits, sure. But to your points, there are other players that are maybe just a slight more priority than maybe who's Tommy's going to see at this point. So
the portal is more important to the quarterbacks you have in the transfer portal is taking up enough of Tommy's time right now. Like, because they know they have to get this right.
Absolutely. All right. So we had someone just popped this in, Sean. I just want to talk about this real quick. Andy Whalen said, someone brought up Drake May leaving UNC. No way. Andy, it's out there, sir. It's out there. We got a tip a couple of days before the report came out that this is something that legitimately may happen. So is it 100%? I'm not saying it's 100%, but all I'm saying is if it does happen, do not be shocked, and do not be shocked if it's Alabama shortly after, okay?
Oh,
We'll leave it at that.
All I'm saying, the bag is coming.
It is coming, man. No doubt. No doubt about it. And that's going to be an interesting conversation if and when that does happen, Sean. It's going to be very
Honestly,
interesting.
it's about him, right? Because he's going to be a top pick. I don't care what school he goes to.
He's going there for 1 year for obvious reasons, and he's going to go to the NFL. That's what that conversation would be if that does happen. Yep. Absolutely. I had another super chat. Got a lot of super chats today, too. We appreciate y'all. Domer Wap just said, love you guys. Great show. Informative and extremely entertaining. Well done. Thank you, sir. We genuinely appreciate that. Thank you so much. All right. Got some more questions. A lot of questions. Love it. Love all these questions, man. All right. Oh, by the way, just so everybody knows, I think everyone noticed that we started at 2 o'clock today. That is going to be 2 o'clock Eastern time. That is going to be a consistent thing moving forward because Sean records the Lucky Lefty podcast and he has to do his editing and everything like that before the show starts. So wanted to give him some time in between the two shows to be able to get all that stuff working and stuff. So yes, just so you all know, 2 o'clock will be the normal time from now on for this show. Sean, we had Antoine Porcher-Rideau. Oh, no, we already answered that one. That was about Spencer Sanders. Got to uncheck those ones, Ryan. All right. From Salty Virginia Peanuts said, Ryan, you talked to the great one a few days ago. What is the nature of his injury? Will he play against North Shore in the state semis this Friday? Salty, I just wanted to pull this one up because I just want to make sure that you know I saw it. I reached out to Jaden shortly after the game. Haven't heard back from him yet about the injury. Talked to him before the game. Didn't know that he was going to miss the last game against South Lake Carroll. So as soon as I know a little bit more insight as far as what the injury is, I will be sure to make you keep you updated. Fortunately for Jaden, if he's able to play, he's going to have an opportunity obviously against North Shore because Sean, even without Jaden Greathouse, Westlake won 44-7 this past weekend, which was wild without Jaden Greathouse. So, but I'll let you know, Salty, as soon as I hear a little more in depth on that one. But it was a weird week in recap, by the way, Sean. I don't know if you saw this, but De La Salle also played Folsom. Right. We knew that Rico Flores wasn't going to play because of the broken foot. Right. But Cooper Flanagan didn't play in that football game either. So you had 3 guys that weren't in. And
if I'm not mistaken, there was like a picture that they took together at the game floating around somewhere. So that was cool. That was cool.
Yeah, we just had someone. Yeah, man, it's interesting. Surprised nobody's asked us about. Surprised no one's asked us about. Apparently, Austin Stogner just entered the portal again. He was the Oklahoma to South Carolina transfer. I could have told you that one a few days ago, D-Rock, but obviously I'm not going to steal the kid's moment. But yeah, that one was an imminent one that was going to happen. Just want to answer this one from Gideon Rosa, who said, I'm surprised nobody's asked us about Deion Sanders yet. All that conversation. So I don't know if you talked about that on your show earlier, but that's interesting talking point. But Gideon Rosa just said, when are they playing Geyer? So apparently, Gideon, they're not going to be able to play Geyer this week. One team is playing in the large school classification. One's playing in the small school. I believe it's Westlake in the large school, Geyer in the small school. So they both have an opportunity to win state championships this year. So they will not be playing.
Yeah, I think was that the final or the semifinal for Geyer this week when they beat Carroll?
I think they were. So I think they both have to win next week to make the state championships. I think they're both 14-0 and they play 16 games in Texas.
Gotcha.
So, yep.
Okay, so that might have been like some type of sectional championship game to get to the semis.
Correct. Okay. And I just had someone correct me that I wanted to just put out there. Salty said, and Salty, my apologies, said Denton was the one that beat South Lake. They dismantled them. Yeah. Westlake beat San Antonio Brennan. That's my fault, Salty. Luckily, in the recap that I wrote, it is correct. So I just checked it to make sure I didn't mess those ones up. So yep. But to your points. All right, got a few more, then we're going to get out of here. Here is from John Climack Mailbag. Thoughts on Buckner starting and game plan for using him? Full bore right out the gates? ? So Sean. Look, we talked about this a lot. I'm a little hesitant on giving it a full go on Tyler Buckner coming back from an injury so quickly. I am personally. I'm not a doctor. I don't know what the exact, how good he feels, what percentage he is back, all that type of stuff. want to hear your insight, though. What would you do? What would your game plan be with Tyler Buckner and thoughts on him starting in general, potentially?
2014 Music City Bowl. Evan Malik.
Oh, good call.
Evan Malik going back and forth. You have the passer, and then you have the runner, the more athletic guy, So, yeah, to ease him back in, you don't know whether or not he's going to be 100% full go physically. Well, he's practicing, so physically he's able to practice. They feel like he can play. But I would start Tyler, to get into the game and then find ways to implement Steve into certain packages, even if it was in the middle of a drive for certain plays and things of that nature, because you have to worry about Tyler's timing, being that's his first game in over, 5 months, 4 or 5 months? Yep. So it would probably be, 3 months. I'm sorry. So that's going to be tough for him. So just putting them both in advantageous positions. Like, perfect example. I watched Cade Klubnik play in a championship game, and I said to myself, okay, you had time off, after the loss. He had some time to get better. Yeah, that's the right time to put him in. Putting him in backed up on the goal line against Notre Dame in that environment, that was the worst. You are not doing that kid any favors. Like, you're asking him to come in and be a savior in that environment. Like, that's Dabo, that's a bad decision. That's a bad decision. So it's all about putting guys in the right position, to be able to be successful. I believe most people might not think so. I believe the same game plan that allowed Notre Dame to go 8-2 after Tyler Buckner got hurt. If Tyler Buckner's handing the ball off 40 plus times, I think he'll be just fine. Especially if you're going to run the bootlegs, you're going to bring Michael Ware around, on the misdirection, Lorenzo around on the jet sweeps. I mean, if that's the offense you're going with early on to get him acclimated, I think Tyler will be fine. I think he'll be fine.
No doubt. I mean, we see this very similarly, Sean. It's not that I don't want him to play. I'm just not full go guy, right, John? Like, I don't want to throw him into the fire, man, because if he gets injured again, then you're like, that's kind of over, right? Yeah. Right? Like, yeah.
All right. I didn't say Mayer was playing. I was just using the example of how they ran the offense with Drew Pine.
Yes.
That was a nice try, though. Nice try.
I mean, I hope Michael Mayer pays, but yeah, I would not hold my breath on that one, sir. I would not hold my breath. Milton Fan said, Mailbag, any update on Armel Mukum senior year? Did he improve significantly? I think he did, Sean. I think that Armel looked very good. I mean, we knew he was powerful and explosive, but he looked like he knew a lot more of what he was doing this year for Woodbury Forest. So I thought Armel took a huge step forward, Milton. Again, he's not fully there, right? Like, he's only been playing football now for 2 years, but the explosiveness, the physicality, the power, it's all there. If they're able to manage it and accentuate it properly, develop it properly, I think Armel is going to surprise a lot of people at Notre Dame. I do. It's just about development with that young man because he has all the tools. He's a really good kid, smart, and he takes coaching very, very well. So I think the future is bright for Armel Mukum.
Yeah, and then, just like the running back situation that Brian has brought up, in a couple of years, you have Traore, you have Mukum in their development, which both guys are just long and big and probably can become beasts. You'll look back and say, okay, if that's what we ended up with, of course, I would love to have Keon Key. Like, if you give me the choice, like, do you want this dude or 2 really good dudes? More than likely, I think most people would say, give me Keon Key. But,
sure,
I'm not mad that we're getting the 2 guys we got.
No doubt. Now, it's not like they're consolation prize. Like, they wanted those 2 to be a part of Keon Keeley, right? Like, it's not a replacement, but it's your point. We had Antoine Pourchet-Rideau, who said thoughts on Kent State wide receiver transfer Dante Cephas. I just want to bang this one out real quick, Sean. Dante Cephas, I actually did some NFL draft preparation on him before the season. I thought there was a chance that he may enter this year's draft. So he's about 6'1", 188-ish pounds, somewhere in that ballpark. He's smooth, pretty explosive, understand how to manipulate space. I think he's a very natural slot receiver, but it can also do some stuff after outside the numbers as well. But I like Dante Cephas. If Notre Dame we think that there will be someone in the wide receiver market potentially, wouldn't be shocked if he's the guy that they look at. Wouldn't be shocked. I don't have any intel on that. It's just, we'll see. He's a very talented kid, though, no doubt. All right, then we had Gideon Rose, short follow-up. Who does Notre Dame have a better shot at? I believe that was the Card versus Leary conversation, Sean. So right now, I think that everything we're hearing from sources, we don't think that they're going to make much of a push for Devin Leary. I think that Card is definitely a guy that they'll push for. He's definitely at the top right near the top of their list, but I don't think that they'll push very hard for Devin Leary. So to bang out that one. Sean, let's go to this one. I'll throw this one to you. Brian Shaw said, any chance of Keaton Slovis to Notre Dame? We know that Notre Dame did reach out to Keaton Slovis last offseason.
I hope not. I hope not. I was upset that they reached out last year.
That's funny.
Look. No, that's not it, man. That's not it. Like, I'm looking for Notre Dame to swing big on this quarterback thing. I really am. Because you're set up perfect to swing big. You're set up perfectly to swing big. Like, go ahead. Call Drake May. I don't care if you don't have the bag. Call him. Even if he can't get in academically because of whatever admissions doesn't want to let him in as a 2-year. Okay, fine. Still make the call. Just make the call. Swing big, man. Swing big.
Oh, man. Sean, look, man, I really liked Keaton Slovis as a freshman at USC. Just hasn't been the same guy since. I mean, multiple shoulder injuries. Just he's regressed as a player. So, yes, to me, no. Wouldn't even entertain it. Sean, we talked about this slightly in the beginning, but let's go a little more in depth on this one. Clay Murphy said, thoughts on Phil Dracovic going to Pittsburgh. You like that fit?
I like the offensive staff better at Pitt than I do Boston College.
Yes, agree.
But once again, can he stay healthy, man? Phil's problem has been health. Health. And he's been behind horrible offensive lines 2 years in a row.
Yes.
So he might.
This year was a different animal, Sean. This was a bad offensive line.
But he might have done this out of survival mode. Like, dude, I'm just trying to survive and find a better offensive line. Yeah.
All right, we have, I hate these likely questions, but Zach's popping it into us, man. Zach Martin with the super chat. Zach, thank you very much. In order of most likely to Notre Dame, Deshaun McCullough, Braden Fisk, Hudson Card, Dante Cephas. All right, I'll take a crack at this, Sean. You tell me your list. Ready? So I'll say most likely Braden Fisk. Then I would go to Hudson Card, Deshaun McCullough, excuse me, and then Dante Cephas, just because I don't know enough about that one. So that would be my list. I don't know if you have something completely different, whatever.
No, I rock with you on that.
All right. That's fair. I mean, like I said, man, I think Braden loves Notre Dame. I think it may end up being a good conversation for him there. Hudson Card, I think there's mutual interest there. We'll see how things work out. Deshaun, I think there's also mutual interest, but Ohio State versus Notre Dame battle, got to win that one, right? So that's going to be a tough one. And I just don't know enough about Dante Cephas. And if Notre Dame's reached out, if they're interested, if he's interested, like, I don't know. I don't know what type of student he is. Like, I don't know enough about Dante Cephas. So I just know he's a good football player. That's all I know about him. Let's go now to Nathan Urbeck. Understanding it is very unlikely. How down would you guys be for taking a Nick Evers? So that's the freshman quarterback out of Oklahoma that is transferring, Sean. Yeah.
I don't even think about it because, like you said, it's just
probably not going to happen. Yeah.
It's not a Notre Dame fit. Forget football, just admissions. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I agree, man. I
And
agree.
first of all, he would be, I don't want to go get somebody that will be a first-time starter or doesn't have a lot of enough playing experience. That I don't want.
Mm-hmm.
Like, whoever comes in, I want them to have some playing experience under their belt.
Yeah, agree. And I keep seeing people saying that Sean McCullough is going to Oklahoma. That's a weird one. Is that actually a thing? I haven't seen anything about that.
I think 247 put something out.
Oh,
okay. Well, something.
Grain of salt on that then. Grain of salt. We'll see how it works out. All right, so then we got another super chat from Milton Fan. Thank you, Milton Fan, for the super chat. It said Armel Mukum's ceiling, Sean. What's his ceiling? I think that he could be
Let's comp. Can we go ahead? I'm interested in hearing your comp.
I think his comp is Adi Ogundiji. I think that's his comp.
Yeah. Same name.
He might be more physically gifted than Adi, though. Mm-hmm. It's possible. But I mean, Adi, his last year led them in sacks. Didn't he have like 8 sacks his senior year? So and he got drafted in the NFL. So it's a pretty good one. So yeah, I'll go with Adi. I think that's a good one. All right, let's go to Sean. We'll do on. All right, here we go. Joel Easton. He bid on it, Sean. He said, I'll bite on it. What do y'all think about Coach Prime calling the guys he's bringing as Louis Vuitton luggage, and that the rest of the players should enter the portal? Sean, did you see the video, Sean?
That's what you call transparency and the harsh truth.
I agree.
This is the business. And see, this is for everyone that was pro player when all of this stuff started. We had a show, myself and Brian, where we kind of said, when this happens, just understand the coaches are going to have some power to do certain things on their end. So now you're seeing coaches walking into programs like Colorado where the play was abysmal this year. He saw the film, abysmal. And he's walking in there with 200 plus 4-star and 5-star players having already reached out to him. Heck yeah. He's telling the truth. What do you want him to say? Like this,
Sean,
no one, you know who's rubbing their hands?
Who's that?
Salivating more than anybody? Affleck. If you think they poured money into that campaign, wait.
Yeah.
Now that he's in the Power 5, just wait. Just wait.
Dude, he was. I'll get my actual thoughts in a second, but yeah, that's funny. No, that's really funny. But I mean,
certain things, I think certain things are harsh truth, and then certain things kind of look, you kind of like, man, because of his flair. Like he's adding flair to the truth, so it looks even, man, it's magnified even more. The fact that he's like, yo, this is my quarterback.
Yeah.
Here's my quarterback here. Like, I'm going to win a championship. And when I get back, some of y'all won't be here. That's just harsh truth, right?
That is the truth.
Now, Marcus Freeman might have walked in and said, well, guys, we're going to have to make some tough decisions with the roster. And some of you guys might want to rethink if you want to be here and start looking at places you want to go. Marcus Freeman probably would have said it in that manner. That's not Deion.
Right.
That's not prime time, man. Right? So you can't, Rick George can't ask him to come be prime and revitalize the program and then expect that he's not going to be prime when he meets the media and the players. It's either you accept everything.
Yeah.
I felt bad. I felt bad for the players, Ryan.
Yeah.
I'm watching it and I'm like, yo, that's tough.
It's tough.
Really tough. I put Deion on the petty train today. Because I was like, you didn't have to do it like that. Like,
didn't have to.
You did, but you didn't have to. I thought personally, I thought it was petty, but man.
I actually didn't have too much of a problem with it, if I'm being honest. I saw the video and then I saw like the backlash that was happening. I'm just like, that's what every coach says. It's just that Deion said it differently than other coaches would say it, right? Like,
absolutely. That's all he did.
Look, man.
You're right. He did say he would have to earn it.
He did.
That's his quarterback, yo. He's not bringing Shador there to sit on the bench.
No, he's not. Him and Travis Hunter comes, like, they're not sitting on the bench. We know this. Well, Sean, I would say this, man. Colorado went 1-11 last year, and most games weren't competitive, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're a bad football team. What was he going to say? Like, things need to change. You're right. I agree with that. I think people were making too much out of it. I mean, I saw someone say, like, oh, he's telling people that they can't wear hats in meetings, but he had a hat on in a meeting. I'm just like, I get it, man. I understand, but I just think that's who Deion Sanders is, right? Like, that's, like you said, it's prime time. Like, you have to understand what he's saying, and he might not just be conveying it in the way that you want it to be said, right? But, like, he's saying everything that every coach will say, right? We haven't been good enough. We're coming in. It's going to be different. Some of you are not going to see the vision, and that's where we're at, right? Like, that's what Deion said. It's just Deion had to make a little bit of a spectacle out of it. I mean, call it what it is, right?
So that's all. Spectacle. That's what he is.
Yeah.
He's a spectacle.
Yeah. Someone asked, I think earlier, Sean, it's like, when's Colorado relevant last? I remember they had that 1 year where they had like 10 wins with Sefo Loifau. You remember that a few years ago?
Yeah.
But before that, man, they hadn't been super
7-5?
Yeah.
7-5?
Yeah. So we'll see. Michael Lester with Super Chat said, Sean, you have changed your opinion of Washington from the start of the year, positive or negative? Why? Talking about Al Washington.
I think Al Washington?
I think that's what he's asking.
I'm trying to remember what I said. I thought I was pretty much across the board giving everybody a chance. Like, I think people were talking about all the negative stuff that came from Ohio State. And I'm like, well, he was coaching out of position. He's not a linebacker coach. But he got all of the linebacker, Eichenberg, Sonny Styles, he got them there. So you can't say he can't recruit because his guys are playing.
Yep.
I know some people have been critical of some of the guys that he lost. You know what? The losing more, I can put on him more than Keon Keeley. Because Keon Keeley that's an unfair fight. Like, you can't fight people that surround kids. That is my opinion. As Notre Dame. If you're a coach at Notre Dame, that's an unfair fight. When you start bringing in NIL, people around, it's an unfair fight. So, I mean, yeah, could he built up something that was insurmountable as far as relationship? Possibly, but like we just said, you go out and you get Traore and Mookum, who aren't throw-ins. These are really good players. So
don't forget Brandon Vernon too. So
Brandon Vernon, still, man, Brandon Davis Swain committed to Notre Dame because of his relationship with Al Washington. This is straight out of his mouth. That's why he committed. Now, from a coaching standpoint, and you might see this differently, Ryan. You know, when people are upset about Jacob Lacey transferring, I always referred to when he was talking about his reps being lessened.
Mm-hmm.
And Marcus Freeman always said, look, guys get on the field by what they show me in practice.
No doubt.
So when we saw Gabriel Rubio start getting a lot of reps, I felt like he must have been doing this thing in practice.
Mm-hmm.
So, and who's developing him? Al Washington. You know, some people can push back. I think Justin Adamiola took a step forward this year. I think Nana took a step forward. It was a little inconsistent at moments, but I think he took a step forward. So Howard Cross got
Gabriel
better.
Rubio.
Gabriel Rubio got better. So, I mean, we can nitpick Has he been perfect? No. But he's been on the job 8 months. I mean, I don't have anything negative to say overall, but I mean, I have some things that I would like done better. But as far as like just being able to say he's this type of coach, I can't come to that conclusion quite yet. I can't. And I think early in the show, I gave him the window, right? Which is interesting. Earlier in the show, I said, okay, you have transfer portal, spring, development, and the 24 class to prove whether or not you're the guy as a defensive line coach. That's your window. Get it done. Get it done. Get help in the portal, develop these youngsters, and close on the 24 class. That's it.
Agreed. All right, we're going to move. We only got a couple more left. Robert Bishop just said Austin Reed, quarterback from Western Kentucky. Won't spend a ton on this, Robert, because I have heard the potential destination for Austin Reed. All I'll say, without giving away the school, is that you should expect him to land in the SEC. He's a very talented quarterback, though. Was a national champion on the D2 level at West Florida, transferred to Western Kentucky, threw like 36 touchdowns this year. Very talented kid. I think, though, that he has eyes on an SEC school potentially. So we'll just leave that one there.
Is he similar in style of play to a guy that declared for the NFL?
Oh no, he's nothing. He's nothing like Anthony Richardson. Nothing like Anthony.
No, I was talking about the other SEC kid that declared.
Who's that? Who's declared so far?
Will Levis.
Oh, Will Levis? No. Will's like 6'3", 230, like rocket arm type of dude. Austin Reed's more like 6'2", 225, 230 touch thrower. Like he's more that guy. Decent velocity, but he's more of a touch thrower, like intermediate to deep type of dude. So I actually like Austin Reed a lot, though. So he'll do well wherever he lands up, but that's all we'll leave it at there. We're going to go to David Penny, who just said, Ryan, do you cheat playing games with your little one? Well, my little one doesn't play board games or anything really, David, but when she does, she will. I will. Yes, absolutely.
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So it's teaching moments then.
It is teaching moments, man.
Okay. Gotcha.
You're not always going to get what you want. But fight for it. Fight for what you get. Yeah. Oh, that's too funny. All right, let's go, Paul. Got Clay Murphy said, do you think that we take another 2024 tight end? Yes, Clay, I do. They currently have Jack Larson committed in the 2024 class. I believe that Carter Nelson's the guy to know out of the state of Nebraska, an extremely talented football player who I think will push the number to 2, potentially, if he chooses Notre Dame. So I do think they'll be in the conversation for 2 tight ends. Sean, we had this one that said, when is the last time Colorado was relevant? We already talked about that one, Cordell Stewart days. I know they were pretty good in the early 2000s. Seth Loifel had them good, I think, in like 2016, I think, as well for 1 year. So
I'll go there and then I'll run like early teens.
Early teens had a nice run?
I think so, if I'm not mistaken.
Was that Gary Barnett? Was that era?
Oh, Barnett was there before he went to Northwestern, right?
Was Gary Barnett at Northwestern?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Gary Barnett was the one that started the turnaround. No, he went to Colorado after Northwestern, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Turn around in Northwestern, and then that's where Gary Walker took over from him before he unfortunately passed away at Northwestern. And then, yeah. Gary Walker was such a good dude, man.
Yep. So we had the last question of the day. I know you're a baseball guy, so let's go here. Jacob Watson wanted to end the show off with something a little different. He said, how does the Phillies lineup look with Trey Turner in it? How excited are you to see it when Bryce Harper comes back? So, Jacob, I'll tell you who's really excited is, what'd you say?
So Bryce is going to miss about, 50, 60 games?
Yeah, because he had to get Tommy John, I think, on his So, I mean, but when he comes back, Sean, you're going to have JT Realmuto. You're going to have Bryce. You'll have Trey Turner. You also have, what's his name? Kyle Schwarber is still in the lineup. Nick Castellanos is still in the lineup. So you're going to have a lot of power. You're not going to have a lot of contact hitters outside of Trey Turner, which is why the Phillies ran into a little bit of a buzzsaw at the end of the World Series because they just didn't have enough contact hitters, man. They were all home run or nothing after the end and didn't turn out too great at there, right? So, yeah, they but defensively, they're still not great, but having Trey Turner and the young shortstop they have, Bryson Stott, who I'm assuming is probably going to move over to second base, is going to be pretty good for them. So there's your quick baseball note, Sean. You have anything to add to that one?
No, I love the move, right? $300 million. He sets the market. He's the first domino to fall in a shortstop-rich market in free agency.
Mm-hmm.
I think he ends up being the highest paid. I think the next one we'll see come off the board is Dansby Swanson. And then after Dansby Swanson, I think Xander Bogaerts will make his decision on whether or not he leaves Boston or goes someplace else. And then I think Carlos Correa ends up being like fourth or fifth in those dominoes. It's gonna be very interesting, man, because Correa and Bogaerts for some teams can be seen as third baseman, right?
Yeah.
And with Tatis now being moved to the outfield, do they sit tight with Kim at shortstop, who played well? He played well. Or do they want to go ahead and feel like they upgrade and go get a Bogaerts next to Machado? I think the Cubs are going to be in on one of the shortstops. And,
we'll see. All I'll say is I'm happy it's Trey Turner because I know people were talking about Dansby Swanson to the Phillies, and no, thank you.
Dansby Swanson to me is a great Atlanta fit. Great.
Yes.
When they drafted him, he developed there. He became the great player that he became there. Like he just fits them. And I understand Atlanta not feeling like they have to overpay for him because Atlanta has proven like we can develop players. Like they probably have like 4 or 5 shortstops just waiting in the minors. So and Ron Washington is the reason that they've been able to develop, infielders down there. So man, I love development. I love college football, NFL. I just love organizations that can draft and develop, man. When you can do that, longevity is inevitable.
Sean, did you see the contract that Jacob deGrom just got from the Rangers, by the way? Was it yesterday?
What did he get? Because I know Verlander went to the Mets, right?
Verlander went to the Mets today, which, stinks, but, is what it is type of thing. I need to go find this real quick because it was a pretty nice little contract he got, man. It's pretty nice. Let me see where it was. Someone sent it to me. I can't find it. It was a nice contract.
The years are the biggest thing with DeGrom's history of injuries. That would be the biggest thing for me. Did they go over 5 years?
It was 5 years, $185 million for DeGrom.
That's
includes fair. Includes a 6-year option that would take the total to $222 million.
That's fair.
DeGrom's excellent, man. You just can't stay healthy. Fair. He's an excellent pitcher, no doubt. Yeah, and Verlander got a 2-year, like $80-something million deal or something like that. He's 40 years old, man.
Verlander and Mad Max.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Nah, it's wild. Justin Verlander is a freak, dude. He just had like a 1.70 ERA at the age of like 39 or 40 last year. It was wild, man. Just absolutely wild.
That's that Nolan Ryan Texas blood, bro.
Yeah, it's that HGH Texas blood too. Just kidding. I don't know that. I'm not going to say that. All right. That is going to do it though for today. We appreciate y'all so much for joining us on Notre Dame Recruiting Hour and the Mailbag here today. Before y'all leave, if you want to hit that like button, subscribe to the podcast, 5-star reviews are always appreciated. Sign up at boards.irishbreakdown.com and tap into irishbreakdown.com for all your fixes from the Notre Dame side of things, from recruiting. We got basketball being covered. We got everything at irishbreakdown.com. Thank you all so much. From Sean, I am Ryan. Thank you all for joining the Irish Breakdown podcast.